Negative.
I'm a happy person. And really, what's the point of being miserable? It doesn't matter what's going on at work or anything. Happy is the only goal. Max told me that. I think some footballer might have said it.
Happy is the only goal. Okay, interesting. She sounds like she the way her behavior looks like she's really trying really hard to pretend to be happy, like almost in a manic sort of way, when she's actually just not really in that mode. Like even her idle animations, these scenes she's cutting through, a lot of them look like she's trying to do like a forced fake smile, although it might just be because all of these animations are supposed to make them look like they're waiting for you and stuff like that. Like she keeps putting on a smile and then it fades, and then she smiles and it fades, and then every animation is her starting a smile and then the smile fading and kind of not quite reaching her eye or kind of looking fake and falling apart before a moment later.
Sorry, I don't know.
Who'd you say it was? Max?
I told you about Max, right? Didn't I mention him before?
Mention him before.
Yes, but you don't know the whole story. Max is 77. He was one of my patients. I thought he was dying, so I shifted for him. Became an old sweetheart of his, apparently. Only Max didn't die. He actually got better somehow. And then he came and asked me to do it again.
Do it again? That's... what happened there?
Yes, Max and Eleanor had dinner on Valentine's Day. I felt a bit weird when he asked me. But he said he just wanted to have one more date with her, and then he wouldn't ask me again. And to be fair, he was a perfect gentleman. I mean, I didn't want to have that conversation.
Oh, so it didn't escalate into any sort of unnerving follow-up territory of like, hey, can we, well, can you pretend to be my ex-wife in bed, basically? Which is a whole other level of alarming as opposed to the roleplay, like, therapy dinner thing. Valentine's Day, though, she says. That could be an alibi.
Why don't you check your notes? Maybe there's something else you...
Perfect gentleman. Oops. Oh, didn't go anywhere, though. I didn't mean to hit enter twice, though. That conversation.
The I don't sleep with 77-year-old men conversation, of course.
So, if I was a real person with agency that could actually go around and do things, as opposed to a search bar that says yes or no sometimes, I would want to find how to contact Max, who's apparently still alive, so that I can get this alibi, or, tell the police that to check into Max, just so someone phones him and asks if this actually happened or not. Maybe not the supernatural stuff, but just whether or not the conversation and dinner happened at the time, just because that affects whether or not she was the person who killed Dekker, which is kind of a big deal. Doctor Dekker.
That doesn't ring a bell.
Really? Dr. Dekker doesn't ring? Okay, fine. Prescription pad.
What about the prescription pad?
Death threats.
Someone was sending Dr. Dekker death threats. Had no idea. You never said anything to me about it.
So he says they okay. The pad was stolen.
Yes, I took it. I had to.
Why did you take the pad?
Dr. Dekker told me he could use it to take away my gift.
Take away your gift?
I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Dr. Dekker said he could use the pad to take away your gift. If all else fails, I'm just going to say the entire sentence back at you.
I don't know anything about that.
Dekker pad gift takeaway.
Sorry, Doctor, I'm trying to answer you.
God damn it. How am I not able to follow this up on? How does that work? It's kind of a big deal if I can use the pad takeaway gifts, like that's important. If it just is a matter of people believing one thing or another, then you might be able to write a prescription that essentially changes people's minds on some level.
Dr. Dekker told me he could use it to take away my gift.
The entire sentence, huh? Take away your gift. I think I already tried that, though.
I don't really have any...
Dekker wanted to take away your gift?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know how to follow up on that one. Weird. It should be the most natural possible conversation to follow up on that. Like, these all in a row were like a very natural flow, and then suddenly I'm like, I can't figure out what the next natural flow is to go on. So how was your dinner with Max? So I asked about the pad, asked about Dekker. Where is Dekker's pad now? There's still something I can follow up on with Max, apparently.
Yes, but you don't know the whole story. Max is 77. He was one of my patients. I thought he was dying, so I shifted for him. Became an old sweetheart of his, apparently. Only Max didn't die. He actually got better somehow. And then he came and asked me to do it again.
It looks like I'm supposed to actually ask about the sweetheart themselves. So I think they were named Eleanor, so I might want to ask that name later too.
Eleanor, her name was, or is. Like I say, he doesn't even know where she is now. But she obviously still loves him. When I shifted, I felt all fluttery and excited. It's so sweet, isn't it?
Do you actually feel the feelings of the people you shift into? I thought you were just like mystiquing, basically, where you just face shift into somebody else and you just pretend to be them, and that's why it could be problematic. But are you actually like becoming a weird copy of them? Eleanor. Can't do Eleanor either. Okay. These conversations are flowing surprisingly quickly with how briefly they reach their ending, but I guess this is like the final act where you reveal what they were doing on Valentine's Day, or what they did with Dekker's body, or how they were involved in his death, or whether or not they took the pad. Everyone was involved in some way so far. Ellen took the pad, Claire refused to reanimate him. I'm going with refused as opposed to forgot. How would you forget? Something like that. And then Bryce hid his body away, but then somebody took it from him. That raises more questions. Let's see here. Alright, Nathan. How are you?
I think you know who killed Dr. Dekker, so you're gonna have a good day. Can we talk a bit about hypnotism, though?
Okay, why do you want to talk about hypnotism?
I've heard you can plant key words in people when they're hypnotized. How would I know if I had any? I think that the hypnotism didn't take, but maybe Dr. Dekker did hypnotize me, and it did work, and he told me to think that it didn't. I think I found one of the key words.
That's concerning. So he thinks that maybe that day where he was hypnotized actually did work out, but the hypnotism part of it was to involved making him think it didn't work, so he would go on to think otherwise. Alright, so keywords. Oops.
I can't say what it is. I don't want to trigger it. I was on the phone to my dad last night, and he said something, and boom, I fell asleep. Normally I wish that kind of thing would happen, but it just happened. I phoned him back. I thought it was seconds, but it was an hour later. I asked him what he'd said. He'd watched some NASA program. He was reading off planets. It was one of them.
I mean, now you're just gonna make me guess. Pluto.
Pluto's not a planet, is it? And why are you even trying?
That was the joke. Because it's not a planet. I'm glad we're on the same step here. Pluto's been not a planet for so long. When did they make that distinction again? I feel like it was so long ago that by the time... I feel it might have been one of those things where it was so long ago that by the time I even learned what Pluto was, it was already too late. Creepy child. Little girl.
I've got nothing.
Child.
I don't know.
Creepy ghost fuck.
Do you ask all your patients that? Or just the pretty ones?
Oh my god, it actually took, because you're like propositioning the patients. Whoops. Let's see. I totally want to try them all though. Luna.
That doesn't mean anything.
Andromeda.
I can't tell you anything.
Milky Way.
No.
Butterfinger.
What are you trying to get me to say?
Alright, NASA?
You ask a lot of good questions.
Phone Dad.
I don't think I know about that.
Planet.
Question after question after question.
Okay, well he's not taking a lot of that, it's fine. Prescription pad, let's go to that.
His prescription pad's missing. The one with all the death threats on it. Do you think the murderer took it to cover their tracks?
If they did, they didn't do a very good job because everyone knows about it now. Just with the death threats. I guess that's pointless because you already knew about them.
I was trying to find his bloody paper spike to stop him using it in our sessions. I was just going to take it, but one of the other patients walked in on me. I had to improvise.
Excuse me? Improvise?
Claire Castleford. That's who's been writing the death threats on his prescription pad. I didn't really want to say, but I think people need to know now that it's gone missing.
So is this what that earlier thing was? I think someone's trying to frame me. Someone trying to frame me? Were you writing the death threats? No, because that already happened. We already basically did that one.
I've already told you, I never saw his prescription pad, so of course I didn't write any death threats. It sounds like someone is trying to frame me. Who's trying to frame me, Doctor?
So this is another case of the dialogue system kind of sequence breaking. During the last chapter, there was some moments where I would say something and then like it would completely break the conversation and skip several steps in, and I'd have to like have to retroactively try to figure out where I even was in the conversation and how I'd somehow teleported there. This one we have the whole framing discussion before I actually have the discussion with the person that's actually telling me to ask her in the first place, and so it gets out of order and out of sequence and confusing and weird. And it seems like it's not intentional to go that way, because it loses the impact if it's not happening in the correct order. Obviously, I'm not going to tell her Nathan's doing it, because she might not respond well. Nathan says, Claire wrote the death threats, I should tell her. I'm not going to tell her... I'm not going to tell her that Nathan said that, though, because she's a murderer. So let's not name names at the murderer. The one confirmed murderer of the group, and threaten other patients around here. Claire.
Dr. Dekker told me it was Claire Castleford. He said he knew who the culprit was, but he thought it was more fun that they didn't know that he knew. Madness.
It's probably madness, yeah. Dekker... Well, I mean, the game is literally called the Infectious Madness, so Dr. Dekker. In case we lost track, why is this girl's just showing up now? Hi.
I can't say what it is. I don't want to trigger it. I was on the phone to my dad last night, and he said something, and boom, I fell asleep. Normally I wish that kind of thing would happen, but it just happened. I phoned him back, I thought it was seconds, but it was an hour later. I asked him what he'd said. He'd watched some NASA program. He was reading off planets. It was one of them.
He was reeling off planets.
Question after...
Nope. Thought I'd double check. Why don't you want to know the keyword? You think that he would just want to know regardless, and we could just figure it out right now if I just name them all. But weirdly, he seems to not. Dr. Dekker.
I can't tell you anything about...
Nope. For a few people, it was an important thing to ask. Which planet?
I don't think I...
Earth. That'd be a really bad one.
I don't want it to be triggered.
Mars. Jupiter. Mercury. Uranus. Neptune. Dip-boo, what am I not thinking of right now? Saturn. Okay, seems like we found it. Did he just walk in a circle or something? Huh. For a second there, I thought he was actually gonna leave and be off of our roster. And if he went from left to right, I'm like, if he left that way, I'm like, but that's the window direction. You're screwing with my entire spatial reasoning, because we've of course been sitting still, staring at one wall, not knowing what this place is freaking shaped like. So this entire time, I've just been assuming that to our left was the door on how to get in and out of here. Not really knowing. I don't know if anyone's actually indicated which way the door was, but I've just sort of been silently in the background establishing a layout for this room without even knowing it. You went into a trance.
So he did plant me with something. I have absolutely no idea. Did you find out what the key word is? What is it? No. Don't say it. Write it down for me. And thank you. You know, there's something I've not been telling you.
Wait, you said thank you? So you did want to know what the keyword is. Then why didn't we just... We literally could have just sat here and I could have just said them all one by one. I had to do that, like, against your will. But, like, you thanked me afterwards? That's weird. That seemed like the most logical step. It's like, hey, person that knows about my weird stuff that's going on that I won't tell anyone else. Could you just say all the different planets real quick and see which one makes me act like a weirdo for a second? No reason. Something you haven't told me.
I've got nothing.
How was I okay, what am I missing here?
So he did plant me with something. I have absolutely no idea. Did you find out what the key word is? What is it? No. Don't say it. Write it down for me. And thank you. You know, there's something I've not been telling you.
Something you've not been telling me. The phrasing need to be that specific?
That doesn't mean anything to me.
Nope. Something.
You ask a lot of good questions.
Secret.
What are you trying to get me?
Tell me.
I don't know.
Tell me the thing you said you haven't been telling me. You fuck.
No.
What do you want from me? Let's do the exact phrase, in quotes even. Something I've not been telling you.
I can't tell you anything.
What are you not telling me?
It's about time travel.
So now I'm supposed to phrase like a question. The game... So an issue I have here is that the game actively contradicts itself. Like, if you... On a regular basis, if you ask a real question or a real sentence, the game will penalize you for asking a real question and framing it in a real sentence, because it actually just wants you to just type keywords into a search bar, basically, and doing a full question or even a phrase will like be too much for it on a regular basis. But every now and then, it'll flip over and do a 180, and the only way to activate the next thing is to do a full sentence that's framed in a very specific way, as if you're talking to them like a person. And it's like, I don't think you can get through the entire game typing keywords, and I don't think you can get through the entire game asking questions. You have to do this weird hybrid system where you sort of try to guess which of the two systems is actually what the game wants at that particular moment, which is really iffy, which kind of adds to the idea of like, I kind of sometimes feel like this might have been better dealt with as a dialogue tree, as opposed to the manual entry stuff that I don't think really quite accomplishes the goal it has. I think the entire reason we have a search bar in this game is just because it's supposed to be a mystery we're digging around for secrets in, and it's like, oh, we need to uncover the secrets, so we need to like intuit what to type and stuff, and that's the intention. But I don't know if it necessarily accomplishes its goal either half the time. Alright then, time travel.
I read a book about time travel. I thought what was happening to me was a type of time travel. I couldn't control it, but at the end of each day, I would travel back in time to the beginning and live it over again. I'm like Doctor Who, but I don't have a TARDIS, and I can't choose what time I go to. Except once.
Alonzi?
Question of...
Wibbly, wobbly, timey, wimey.
That doesn't mean anything to...
Fantastic.
I don't think I know about that.
The girl who waited.
I've got nothing.
The angels have the phone box.
I don't know.
Waters of Mars. It actually toggled something because if I typed enough concepts from Doctor Who, it eventually lead to me actually triggering stuff because of the fact that we actually talked about planets earlier. That's actually kind of funny. Oh, has Doctor Who ever had a keyword situation? Probably, because it's like 1 billion episodes long. But I'm thinking of the new Doctor Who, because that's the one I've seen, which is still... like 10 seasons. Holy crap, it's not a young show anymore, even the new one. Did you see that part with the janitor from Harry Potter? That was crazy.
No.
He gets insulted for calling him crazy or something. Let's see. Doctor... Who?
You ask a lot of good questions.
TARDIS.
What are you trying to get me to say?
Alright, right. He said you never choose where he goes except once.
The doctor said she was legally still alive. The only thing they could do was starve her. Hannah didn't die in the accident the first time around. It was worse than death. She wouldn't have wanted that. I was looking at a photo from around the time of the accident. I had a lot of alcohol, which I think was probably necessary. I jumped back to the junction, I started pulling out, but the lorry was already on us. I drove into the lorry to make sure. I didn't wake up in hospital. Because I woke up the next day, present day. Things had changed.
That's interesting. Someone's got the Max Caulfield power. Wait, was her name Max Caulfield, or is that from something else? Shit. There's so many Maxes out there. Anyway, I'm thinking of Life is Strange with the power to look into photographs and time travel back to when they were taken. I feel like... I don't know, maybe the game's getting that straight from Life is Strange, but oftentimes when that kind of weird expression is used on a regular basis, I can almost see it being like a pre-existing pop culture thing or existing mythological power thing that everyone's referring to at once, as opposed to the games referring to each other. Just to make sure.
You ask a lot of good...
Things had changed.
Her obituary changed in the press clippings I kept. It said she was killed instantly. Nothing else changed. Her family seemed to hate me more, which is ironic because the first time around, they pulled her off life support. So I saved them the indignity. Now they just think it was my careless driving that caused her death.
Yeah, that would explain why they hate you more, probably. Previously, she at least survived, and then the person was on life support for all that time, and then they chose to take her off, which meant that they would have some extra bit of guilt for themselves, basically, that makes them look back on the whole thing in a different light, which means that some blame for you would probably be lessened. They'd probably still be mad at you for what happened, but the fact that they essentially had to make the decision to kill their daughter too would distract from that a bit, as opposed to just the all-at-once colossal news that you got her killed and that's it, and that was all that happened. And yes, considering what happened to her, it might have been an improvement to have her just die outright as opposed to slowly get taken off life support just because it saves that particular form of grief from reaching her parents. Obviously, it's ideal to save her life. He was all like, one thing that was concerning is that he said that I would drive in front of the lorry on purpose this time or something like that if he had a choice, because he was mad about the discovery that she was planning on leaving him and stuff like that. So there's some possible unreliable narrator stuff going on here where you might wonder, was the lorry really already on them and they literally had no choice but to get hit, so he just did it a cleaner way? In which case, how would you even... It would be hard to even contemplate that. You'd be so caught off guard by the fact that you're thrown back into... You'd be so caught off guard by the idea that you're thrown back into the past that being able to even make a decision and change what happened so abruptly would be so hard to do. Like, that's some really snap decision-making in a moment's notice of a thing you've never ever had happen before. But it's also possible there was a more contemplative thing where he had a chance to go back there and he intentionally made sure she died again because he didn't want to save her, because before he had the outburst saying he wouldn't save her this time. But that could have just been an outburst, because some people just get emotional and stuff, and these are therapy sessions and stuff, so it's hard to say. Killed instantly.
I don't think I know about that. I hope you're keeping good notes, Doctor, because I'm as confused as hell.
Family hates you.
I can't tell you anything.
Obituary.
I haven't been lying. As far as everyone's concerned, she died in that car accident. Instantly.
The problem is that if that changed for me, too, then I can't... Well, I probably never saw the obituary regardless, but I have no way of knowing if it changed, because even if it did change, everyone would think that it changed except for him, so no one... I mean, everyone would think it was always like that except for him, so he'd be the only one that would be able to observe the change in the first place.
I think you know who killed Dr. Dekker, so you're gonna have a good day. Can we talk a bit about...
I'm supposed to go back to that. We talked about hypnotism in the car, but we should probably go back to the big question of the game, which is who killed Mr. Burns?
Today, Doctor. Today, we will have fun. Other days, I've told you who it is. Today, you can work it out for yourself. Maybe that'll move things forward for me.